Hello and welcome. I'm Wise Old Tree, and this is a review of Dimension 20, Season 13, A Starstruck Odyssey. Starting with an overview, A Starstruck Odyssey is a live play tabletop RPG series produced by Dropout and released in the first half of 2022. It's an 18 episode series, with episodes averaging around 2.5 hours each. It's also the first season back on set with the Intrepid heroes post-quarantine. Brennan Lee Mulligan is the game master, and the players are Lou Wilson, Siobhan Thompson, Zach Oyama, Allie Beardsley, Emily Axford, and Brian Murphy. The season is its own standalone series that's not connected to any other season of Dimension 20, at least at time of writing this. Starstruck is a sci-fi setting based on the play and comic series of the same name. The setting is mostly what you might expect from a science fiction setting, although with a dash of retro-futurism for the 90s tossed in, where the player characters are all crew members of the same spaceship. For my overall impressions, I think I can best summarize this season with the wacky misadventures of lovable space bozos. The season is heavily comedic, with fun, open-ended scenarios for the player characters to play around in and flex their creative and comedic muscles. The season kind of has a central narrative plot, but in some ways you could just say there's no main narrative thrust and just a series of interlinking character plot lines, some of which happen to be longer than others. This lets the season feel more like a series of individual adventures than any season prior. Starstruck Odyssey uses a modified version of the Star Wars RPG rules. Although, if you're familiar with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, then the game will sound and play very familiar. There's added rules for ship combat and interface, as well as stuff you'd expect in a sci-fi setting like hacking and piloting and grenades. But the core systems will be extremely familiar. The season also uses Tailspire for the virtual combat encounters and arenas. I think Tailspire is great for what it is, and the virtual sets and 3D models are very evocative, especially in the space combat setting. But I admit I was hoping for a return to physical miniatures and sets once the players could play in the same space together again. Combats still have all the players looking at their laptops all the time, which is needed for them to understand what's going on, but I feel detracts from the table a bit. I will also say that sci-fi has never been one of my favorite setting aesthetics, regardless of the specific franchise in question. I just sort of feel that a lot of sci-fi all kind of feels the same, and yes, I am aware of the irony of that statement when my favorite setting aesthetic is sword and sorcery fantasy. Now, I can't claim that A Starstruck Odyssey changed my mind in that regard, but I can say that any setting bias I might have didn't impact my ability to enjoy the story at all. So this season feels like a season for anyone, regardless of how much they do or do not like science fiction stories. For a player to watch this season, everyone is a lot of fun, but I'll go with Sundry Sydney, played by Emily Axford. Sydney is a beta version of an all-in-one android that never made it to market, now with sentience and free will and figuring out what to do with all that. Sydney doesn't get as much screen time for her storyline compared to some of the other characters, but the story that is there is very punchy and effective and to the point. Emily's style as a player fits with the Anarch era of the setting very well. Chaos reigns supreme. And of course, this is also the season where Emily makes Brennan say, "Am I getting Ocean 11'd on my own effing show?" Which honestly is an absolute delight. As for a rating, I'm going to give Season 13 of Dimension 20, A Starstruck Odyssey, a 5 out of 5. Wow, this season is a lot of fun. The setting and tone overlay so well with the strengths of the players. The series doesn't push for too much melodrama, although there's a little, and the stakes are low to medium, but never really high, even if it might present that way in a few points. This all lets the players do what they do best, and they really deliver here. Fun scenes, memorable characters, and lots of laughs to be found along the way. It's great for longer time viewers who somehow haven't seen it, for brand new viewers wanting to give Dimension 20 a try, and for anyone looking for a comfortable and satisfying rewatch. Check it out. All right, that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and see you next time for Season 14, Coffin Run.